I want to give you an idea of what it's like to study at the University of Limerick. Whatever discipline you study, you're going to learn a lot of new information about that discipline. You're going to learn facts, techniques and procedures that are relevant to the discipline. But much more importantly, what we aim to do is to give you an understanding of your discipline, which means drilling down deep behind those surface facts so that you really understand what you are learning. What we want to do is to challenge you and to push you so that you get an idea of the boundaries of your discipline, and you also begin to question received wisdoms about your discipline. It is an intellectual voyage that involves questioning, and we want you to question all the time whilst you're studying your subject. I'm going to give you an example from my own field, which is criminal law, and I'm going to pose it in the form of a question. Can it ever be lawful to kill one person to save others? Can you kill A to save B, C and D? Well, the case of self-defense would seem to suggest that this is so. The law allows you to use reasonable force to repel an attack on yourself or another, and in some circumstances that degree of force might be fatal. It might be necessary to kill the assailant to protect the other people. But it's easy to rationalize the case of self-defense. The assailant is a wrongdoer, and you are acting to protect innocent life. You're trading off, in a sense, as an economist would put it, you're trading the wrongdoer's life against the life of innocent people. And few would question the right to kill in those circumstances. So let me refine the question. Is it ever permissible to kill an innocent person to save the lives of other innocent people? This is a more difficult problem, and it raises what the law knows as a defense of necessity. In some circumstances, the law allows you to do what is otherwise a wrongful act if it prevents a greater harm. The underlying principle is a principle of lesser evils. The lesser evil is permissible if it avoids the greater evil. The ancient or the old law writers from the 16th and 17th centuries who shaped the criminal law that we know today gave several examples. One was this: it was permissible to pull down a house to prevent a fire from spreading throughout the town or village. Here you can clearly see that the wrong of damaging the property is outweighed by the saving of life that's implicit in preventing the fire from spreading. Another example was, it is lawful to free a prisoner from a burning jail. Again, the wrong of prison break is outweighed by the net saving of life, or by the saving of life that is involved. They're quite straightforward examples, and the law will privilege acting in those extreme circumstances. The problem I've posed to you is not as clear-cut, because the evils are approximately equal. An American philosopher, Judith Jarvis Thomson, has posed a problem called the trolley problem that is discussed by lawyers and philosophers alike. And the trolley problem is this. The trolley in question is heading down an incline when Edward, its driver, discovers that the brakes aren't working. On the track ahead of him are 5 people. The banks are so steep they will not be able to get off the track in time. The track has a spur leading off to the right, and Edward can turn the trolley onto it. Unfortunately, there is one person on the right-hand track. Edward can turn the trolley, killing the one, or he can refrain from turning the trolley, which would mean the death of 5. So, is Edward permitted to turn the trolley or not? Think about that for a second. Now, whichever answer you give is probably an acceptable answer in law. It's because this is not a straightforward or easy case. But I suspect that most people would say Edward is permitted to turn the trolley. Anecdotal evidence from opinion polls, etc., would suggest that about 3 out of 4 people would say yes, it's permissible to turn the trolley. 25% would say no, let it continue, but 3 out of 4 of us would probably say turn the trolley. Now, why do you think that is permissible? Why should the law allow Edward turn the trolley, killing one to save the 5? Well, one answer that a lot of people are drawn to is that there's a net saving of life. After all, 5 lives are saved, 1 is lost, there's a net saving of 4. That's the consequentialist argument. where you're looking at the outcome of the act to determine whether the act is permissible. An American writer called Leo Katz presents a similar but different type of problem to show that the numbers argument is inadequate. Katz presents the case of what he calls the utilitarian surgeon. The surgeon has 5 patients. 2 of them are all at death's door. 2 of them require a lung transplant. 1 requires a heart transplant, and the remaining 2 require a kidney each. If these transplants don't occur very soon, the patients will die. As the surgeon ponders this dilemma in his surgery, a healthy young man walks into the surgery for a consultation on, we'll say, an ingrown toenail. The surgeon looks up and thinks, well, where will I get 2 lungs, 1 heart and 2 kidneys? And as Katz puts it, he realizes that the healthy patient is a walking reservoir of spare parts which, if judiciously redeployed, could save the life of his other 5 patients. Can the surgeon kill the healthy young man, take the organs and transplant them into the other patients, saving 5 at the expense of 1? Our senses would recoil, our fundamental moral beliefs are offended by the idea of organ harvesting in the example that I've given. So therefore, the point about this argument, the point about the Katz argument, is that the consequentialist reasoning is not adequate to explain your suggestion or your belief that it is permissible to turn the trolley. Because if numbers are the only explanation, then turning the trolley and killing the healthy patient to harvest his organs are the same act, or acts of similar quality. But I think we all accept they are not. How can you say it's permissible to turn the trolley, yet impermissible to harvest organs? Well, there are a couple of possible answers. In the case of the trolley, no wrong is committed because the actor, Edward, acts in circumstances of dire necessity in order to save life. And those circumstances of dire necessity authorize or justify his conduct. A different but similar answer is this. It is wrong to turn the trolley, killing the 1 person, but because of the circumstances of dire necessity, the law will excuse or exonerate Edward the driver. But whichever way you look at it, we're saying we will not punish the trolley driver because he acted in these circumstances of dire necessity. Whereas in the case of the utilitarian surgeon, the circumstances of dire necessity are not there. It is a fundamentally different issue when you look at it in this way. Now, that is just a small vignette, a small opening of the type of inquiry that we do in my field of study, that is criminal law. But it is one approach. It is one approach amongst many that might be taken. But the purpose is to introduce you to deep problems that shape the rules of our disciplines, the rule of my discipline of criminal law. The study of the law requires us to delve deep, to drill down, to try and resolve these dilemmas, not because we're going to face them every day in legal practice or in real life, we won't, hopefully, but because it gives us an understanding into our discipline, it gives us an understanding of what we're studying. The brief inquiry I've just conducted is one that can be done by lawyers, but is also shared by philosophers, students of ethics, economics, the behavioral sciences, and it illustrates that a number of different disciplines can share a common inquiry, can share common problems, but might well answer them slightly differently or bring different intellectual tools to their resolution. At the University of Limerick, we help you ask the big questions. The type of inquiry involves an intellectual voyage that will be challenging, I hope exciting, rewarding and fruitful.